Oh, whoop. Adding yourself to the stage is always a good idea as you learn with these things. How goes it, everybody? Hope you're doing well. Welcome from the Queen City, the Radio City. And as I like to say, welcome to the party. I'm going to talk about something today for a couple minutes, and we're going to get to your questions and comments. Made it all the way here from Tony's Twitch. We're going to like that. Hello from Ohio. Okay. So nobody has actually said to me the words, Cliff, we can hear you. Yep, there we go. See, if you say that, if you're the first one to say we can hear you, you will be highlighted. Thank you, Dark Shabdu. I appreciate it, seriously. All right, here's what we're going to talk about quickly today. Ready? Let's do it. And when I say that, let's do it, I mean Democrats, let's do it, okay? Enough of being outgunned by right-wing misinformation, by right-wing disinformation. Important announcement today. BBC tells us that Comcast, known before as a cable company and somewhat of a conglomerate in the telecommunications space, is spinning off MSNBC and CNBC. Liberal billionaires, liberal foundations, even liberal companies. Now is your time. Now is our time. We need you. We've been getting crushed by disinformation for the last 30 years. Some of us were screaming about it years ago. I mean, you could pile one irony on another. I got my start on going on television shows, trained to be on camera like this, because Fox News invited me on to fight with the conservatives on the show. I guess it created some theater. And yes, I went on MSNBC and CNN and some of the others too, and NPR and what have you. But the fact that it started with Fox, and then guess where I got my only paid gig ever to be on TV as an analyst? Why? It was the Sinclair Broadcast Network. They wanted me as their liberal analyst to fight with the conservative analyst and whatever dumb host they happened to have sitting there that day. And I did, and it was fun, and they paid me. And I think I made them look pretty stupid, though they are good at that themselves, as they've proven. Point being, I got all of this training, all of this experience, and a lot of it came from conservative media, and no one was paying me except for Sinclair. What I was able to do was be an entrepreneur, create my own companies, and thankfully stay in this business, consult, and eventually wrote ads for Biden. But before that, do stuff for Everytown for Gun Safety, Bloomberg's Group, PR, their first digital PR that they had done in 2009 to about 2013, and numerous other things. But if that hadn't worked, I would have had to leave and do communications in the corporate arena, as numerous other very talented folks did. We've lost a generation of talent because you know what the right did? They created Heritage and AEI and said, hey, here's an endowed seat for $250,000. It's meant, here's a place to place your arse. Go sit there and cause trouble. Write stuff that's bad about Bill Clinton or Barack Obama or whoever was the bête noire of the time. Go on television. Hey, we'll get you a contributorship from Fox or Sinclair or somebody. Or Salem Radio, which owns local radio stations throughout the country and pumps us filled with their Christian nationalism garbage. They started about 40, 50 years ago. If any of you heard of the famous Powell Memo, where a conservative Democrat, he called himself then, was on the Supreme Court under Nixon, wrote a memo about how conservatives could come back from all the hippies and counterculture that were threatening business. It talked about taking over cultural institutions and creating ones that competed with them. So if you couldn't get your message on NBC, you created Fox. If you couldn't get your research, because it was obviously garbage you made up, like with crayons drawing on the floor, into Brookings, we had Heritage Foundation for you. If your lawyers were the types of people that were blackout drunks that couldn't remember what they did with their schlong at parties, like Brett Kavanaugh, well, we're no longer going to let the American Bar Association decide if they're worthy. We're going to get the Federalist Society to do that. We have barely responded. Media Matters, Think Progress, the Center for American Progress. Yeah, that's right. They discontinued the blog, Think Progress. We've never consistently put money in. Every 2 years or so, we parachute in for 6 months and think that when we're up against a 24/7, 365 days a year media machine of lies on the right, that we're going to be able to compete. And it also pushes corporate media to become even bigger liars than they already are, because they say to themselves, well, if the right is saying this, we have to be halfway between the left and the right's way the hell over there. I guess right would be on this side of mine. But then the middle is going to be here. So it made our, besides the fact that they're owned by corporate entities that won't let them say anything, choose not to endorse anybody. So let's get back to where we were. MSNBC and CNBC. Okay, MSNBC speaks for itself. Liberals already watch it. A lot of us have a lot of problems with it. I think some of the hosts there are terrible. There's a couple good ones. I like Lawrence O'Donnell a lot, a few others. But it still is too corporatized. It still repeats a lot of those kinds of points. There still are things I know from people who've worked there who said they cannot say on air. Why don't we take care of buying that? It's property already sitting there waiting to be expanded. And CNBC, see, that would be the strategy that the right is also employed. You guys know, I mean, if you read these outlets, let me give you a couple of them. The Hill, Newsweek, Politico. There were times when those were just centristy, boring mainstream media outlets, all bought by right-wing nuts, and they still contain the branding they once had, especially a national publication like Newsweek, right? And everybody still thinks it's supposed to be, you know, mainstream, moderate media. No, it's owned by right-wing nuts, and they've kept the branding. So now think about CNBC. I mean, who's that, you know, jackwad that's on there? I can't think of his name. That's the big Trump sycophant that Mark Cuban went on and just basically crushed on there. I can't even think of his name, and who cares what his name is anyhow? I'm sure most people who meet him don't remember his name, and if they do, they wish they didn't. Point being, it's already branded as this sort of center-right station. The beauty of if we were to take it over and go in, we don't need to do any rebranding. It's CNBC. You come on the next day, but we come on with our hosts and our perspectives, built in a way to reach beyond our own folks. So no more waiting. Look at what we're looking at. We're staring fascism in the face, and that is because of the news, the environment, the media atmosphere has been horrendous and gotten only worse over the last 20, 30 years. I mean, obviously, more recently with Musk and Twitter and the rest. They take over everything in sight, and we just sort of sit there on the sidelines, our billionaires, our companies, our wealthy people, and just say, hey, you know, write a book, and maybe we'll throw a $2,000 party for you. That's what happened, actually, when I wrote a book on John McCain, and one of the nastiest of the nasty, if you guys remember, the Swift voters, wrote a book in 2008 on Barack Obama. He was a birther. He lied throughout the book. And I got a couple $1,000 party thrown by the AFL-CIO to kick off my book, which I don't criticize them at all. That was very generous and kind of them. It's that nobody else did anything. And on the right, what happened with this guy? Somebody bought 500,000 copies of his book, and it was everywhere. And I still hit the Amazon bestseller list because I had to work my butt off promoting it everywhere, while this guy probably had a whole marketing team. We can't win this way. We lose. We still do sometimes, which is incredible how often we win. It just shows you how much they have to put into lying to people and tricking people. But it also shows you that that's why Donald Trump won this time. With a normal media atmosphere where people of media that wouldn't say, well, he seemed to really enjoy the music of Ave Maria, and said, hey, that crazy afro was swaying back and forth like the Leaning Tower of Pisa, and we thought he might actually fall over at some point and break through the ground, and had no idea what he was doing for half of the time he was up on stage, and wanted to listen to 27 different versions of the same song. That would have been an accurate portrayal of what happened. But you didn't get that from the New York Times or anybody else. So I will end this where I began. Do it, Democrats. MSNBC and CNBC will be available. Stop, at least put a dent, a small dent, in the dominance right wing has when it comes to overall media, whether it be cable, whether it be network, whether it be, you know, online, offline. I mean, you know, local radio throughout this country, newspapers. We must fight back. You start by doing this. Show you're serious, and then acquire a lot more properties so we can compete. And that, friends, is my rant for today. So now that I'm done with that, if any of you have any, let's see, well, I wanted to get one that I missed, and that's a classic example here. Stephen Manning, Seattle Times is still locally owned for now. They endorsed Kamala Harris. Yeah, the Philadelphia Inquirer is owned by a private foundation. They were the only outlet to call for Donald Trump to drop out after that debate for being a serial liar, that first debate, and not to call for Joe Biden to drop out, because they are an independent outlet and they told the truth about Trump. The Cleveland Plain Dealer, I don't even know who owns the Cleveland Plain Dealer, but their editor announced he was going to tell the truth from the beginning, and he would not pretend the two were the same. He criticized Biden when Biden was still in, when he needed to, but when he was going to make sure to let people know that Donald Trump had not respected the results of the last election and had tried to overthrow it. They were going to make sure people knew that. They were going to make sure people knew he was a convict. because there's a difference. Yes, that's what happens here when you have locally owned, or you have things that are non-corporate owned or nonprofit, like ProPublica, which did an amazing job, broke a lot of the Clarence Thomas stories and the rest. I go on with a terrific host. I'm going to have him on as a guest. Maybe he'll join tomorrow, Matt McNeil, who everybody should watch. He's a host, comes out at AM 950 in Minneapolis, St. Paul. It's one of the few locally owned progressive radio stations in the country. It's terrestrial, and they make an enormous difference. And that show, because he comes out of there, we also own WCPT in Chicago, which reaches parts of Wisconsin, so he gets replayed there. He gets replayed in Seattle. But there's so few. If they're independently owned like that, we have a chance. But we need our people to step up. Okay. The oligarchs have bought all the local papers and news outlets. They're all owned by Republican douche nozzles. Yes, that's a very good. I would have gone with douche canoe myself, but that's just a preference. Nozzles works very well too, Jathan, if I'm pronouncing that right. That's true. They have bought up a lot, but the whole point is they haven't bought up everything. Some will still come on the market, right? Like, it's frustrating as hell. The Baltimore Sun went on the market, and the Smith brothers of Sinclair, those right-wing lunatics, went and bought it. They already own, what, 20, 30 TV stations, mostly in swing states, or TV news outlets like NBC and whatever. Why don't we have those channels? Why don't we have somebody acquiring those channels? Why don't we have a large syndicator acquiring local radio stations? I've asked myself these questions forever. Why didn't we realize the power of Fox News, which some polling has shown can move somebody who views it on average 7 points to the right? Why do we not have a real response? MSNBC, I'm sorry, we just saw what Morning Joe did. They put a Republican congressman on, and that's our channel. That's a response. And there's a couple people there who frankly, either are very Republican or are so crazy far out to the left, they make no sense to anybody who's liberal. So you're left with a couple of people who know what they're doing and make sense. And and then the news personalities during the day that just don't even care. The Andrea Mitchells and Katie Tours that lean towards Donald Trump, if anything, make it a real liberal news station. I was not their Washington Generals. I don't put that up there, Dennis, because you put that up there. No, I mean, again, I don't like saying, because I'm not trying to brag, but I beat the crap out of whoever I went up against. I don't believe in losing. If they paid me to just be a loser and to sit there and just take crap from the other side, well, then I would not have accepted the money. I wouldn't. I'm not a boxer that I'm going to pay to take a dive, in the fourth round and do that. I went on and I was myself. They liked it because they realized that conflict, attracts eyeballs. But I would make a strong argument that I got the best of arguments against two people I was up against, the host and the right winger. And they're paying the right winger a lot more than me. I'm sure that will shock you. I put up this by Jim, who's awesome. Look, I mean, that's a great list, and I appreciate being put on that list. And there are others, right? There are others. I mean, I love the folks on this list. I don't know if I see Hal Sparks on there. You can't fit everybody, Jim. I'm not criticizing you, but I would say, Hal's fantastic. I go on with Bob Seska now every Tuesday. I am going to be the co-host. Sadly, Buzz had to, his old co-host, who was a real radio personality, got old enough he wanted to retire, and I am stepping in. I am not a real radio personality, but I'm a personality of some sort, and so I'm going to be doing that, and I can't wait. Point being, there's a lot of great independent media out there, and if we were the right, let me tell you this story. At some point, it was written about and showed up in numerous outlets. Somebody was doing millions of dollars in Facebook ads for Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro was a creation. Probably they wanted somebody Jewish on the right to try to win Jews over, which mostly didn't work. And I'm sure there was a thought behind it. And what's hilarious, they picked this little weasel who sounds like he's been sucking on. What is he? I want to take the phrase from Deadpool, mouth sexing a helium balloon. That's pretty much what Ben Shapiro sounds like. And of course, on top of that, he's this little wimp who tries to show his muscles all the time, and they're flabby, and he's not charismatic or impressive in any way, but there were millions of dollars put behind him, so he became a thing. This is what they do on the right. This is cool to see, Cynthia. Yeah, Bob is a real radio guy. Like he came out of Morning Zoo and all that radio. Like he's the deal. Like I went on, when I go on his show and I co-hosted it with him yesterday, I encourage you all to go check out his podcast. He's got all the noises, all the cool stuff. I mean, I know that, I'll put this up for a second. I know that, Tony does that too. And Tony wasn't radio originally. You don't have to be, but I'll learn how to do all that soon. I promise you. Learning is a thing at a time. We need to support Heartland Signal. I agree with that. They own WCPT. I did some consulting for them for a while, trying to help them grow their presence. They're good folks over there. And, they're not funded as well as I wish they were. It's somebody who funded their general operations and everything else. They really, if we had people who wanted to really look at this seriously, you'd connect the MSNBC and the CNBC to funding Heartland Signal, more other radio stations like that. There are plenty of them out there to be acquired. And now you can add streaming and have reach people on YouTube and reach people on TikTok and, reach people on Twitch and Facebook and all these places. Like we can combine all of these. I also like a guy in Vegas named Brian Shapiro. Well, Brian Shapiro, I'm sure, is much more manly than Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro's like a doormat. What else we got? I'm sure I missed some stuff along the way. If I missed anything, feel free to repeat yourself. I will try my best. I will remind you folks that this has so far been a very small operation of me growing this thing, and I've tried twice to hire folks. It is hard, man. It's a full employment economy out there. So anybody out there looking for some extra work, let me know. But I need somebody to post some things for me on places like TikTok. I need somebody to help with a number of the things, most specifically my Patreon and YouTube members. So I thought about, because I'm going to ask you to please join. It is a way to support what I'm doing, and it allows me to do more if you become a member. And once I finally have someone who can work with me to sort it out, you will get more content and more extras than you will know what to do with. It was frustrating. I thought I had somebody, and I told you this a week ago, set to go, and she just backed out. Too much other stuff going on, I guess. So I'm gonna need to find somebody to help out here. TikTok is Chinese malware. Don't use it. Yeah, I know. I have it somewhere separately, is the way I do it. Because I know they can get into everything. Yes, and Stephen Manning, dump the X. I don't want to say the word because again they'll come after me, the YouTube police. But dump Twitter. Blue Sky is it. I was going to say that. Let's go for that. If you're not following me on Blue Sky, please do. Trying to grow that account because that's not going to be my home. YouTube will be my home, but it's a secondary place to go. Here you go. See if that works. Didn't seem to come out in clickable form. In any case, I would love it if you guys would come by and follow me there, Blue Sky. That gives you the address right there. And it's so cool that I showed you twice. Now everything comes out twice. I don't know why. What are my thoughts? There we go. We got a question. But President Biden declaring Russia a terrorist state, keep sanctions on. I believe that there is no length that President Biden should not go to at this point. Russia threatens nuclear war. If you've been alive long enough, they did it with Reagan in the 80s, and they did it with George H.W. Bush, did it with Bill Clinton. Anybody who ever, by the time Clinton was in, of course, it was becoming Boris Yeltsin, so that's probably an important point. But the Soviets threatened nuclear war whenever we did anything. That was their go-to, and it has been Putin's go-to. If we're just going to give in, it's kind of like when the right threatens to do something to us. Here, Jim's got this up there. And we say, and we do what Joe Scarborough did, and we go and we bow before them ahead of time. A, it shows weakness, and B, they still come after you. It never changes anything. Usually they're bluffing, but if they're not bluffing, your apology, your weakness is only going to encourage them. With Russia, and I've been very sort of complimentary, in terms of, I think, and again, I always disclose, I wrote ads for Biden in 2020. I didn't work for anybody on this cycle, but I did not work for the administration. I think their administration did an amazing job. The infrastructure bill, they found things that Mitch McConnell thought he needed too. I can tell you that from personal experience because I'm in Cincinnati. Northern Kentucky's across the bridge. We had 2 bridges falling down. So they got Republicans to do something that was in their self-interest. But Biden found a way to make that happen. We got at least a few gun loopholes closed That bill didn't do nearly enough, but something. Biden had an amazing presidency, but his Justice Department picks was a failure, and his national security picks. I mean, the fact that we didn't tell Russia, if you do one thing, if we see one video, you're talking about Haitians eating, their pets, or you're talking about FEMA taking money from people instead of giving it to them. One fraudulent thing we traced RT, and you call in bomb threats, we will consider that an act of war. And no, we're not going to go to war with you. But if you think the sanctions are bad now, watch us freeze every single damn asset we can find in any allied country and ours around the world. Oh, and by the way, we're not going to wait until, November for long-range missiles to allow Ukraine to shoot them into Russia. We're going to give Ukraine more stuff. And maybe we'll just load up everybody on your border. Maybe Estonia and Latvia and Lithuania and Finland, and they need protection anyhow. And they can all shoot them far into your country, because that's what we're going to do. If you declare cyber war on us, which is what you're doing when you mess with our elections, then consider anything that we wouldn't do, all bets are off. That is what I would have done. We did not do that. And I think we're still paying the price for that, or at least that I know about. I'm glad that we now gave Ukraine the ability to shoot into Russia, but it should have happened a while ago. And some of these things should have been saved as a threat to Putin to stay the hell out of our election. Whether he made the difference in the end, I don't know. But it's a pretty close. Trump's down now to about 1.6% lead, and I think 150,000 votes switched in 2 or 3 states, and we win. So every little thing made a difference. Every little thing. And what Russia did, those bomb threats, I mean, it cost us a few thousand votes here and there, which it could have, right? They had to clear out, lines were longer. That was the point of it. And to make some people scared to go back, which I'm sure it did. Damn, Cliff. I am on fire today. All right. I had my Wheaties, as we used to say. As did back then Caitlyn Jenner, who's now an awful, horrible person, who you should never listen to about anything, who likes Donald Trump. Yeah. The world's a crazy place, kids. What do we got? England and the rest of Europe won't stand for Putin taking Ukraine. No, I don't believe they will. But I would tell you right now what this is probably going to lead to. And I can tell you that I had a international affairs background for a while. I did some work for the democracy promotion through the UN, the State Department. Went and spoke abroad in a couple ex-communist countries like Romania. What I can tell you right now is that Europe is going to likely, we're going to see an arms race. I mean, if you're in NATO, who else? Maybe you guys know this, and I should know all of them, but the UK and France certainly have nuclear weapons. I'm not sure who, if anyone else in the NATO alliance does, besides us. Canada, probably. They have to. But in Western Europe, to Spain, I don't know. But they're going to, because if you just saw what happened here in the United States, if you're looking to the west of you and you see what just happened and Donald Trump's taking over, and you're looking to the east of you and you see Russia attacking Ukraine, and you see Orban in Hungary, and you see right-wing governments dominating Slovakia right now, I believe, Czech Republic, Italy, Finland. That would be a reason not to give them the weaponry, by the way, right now. You're scared, right? I mean, if you're in Europe, you just feel like the biggest, strongest, it's like you just lost your team captain. The biggest, strongest partner in your alliance is now someone you can't even share intelligence with and trust. So, I mean, if I'm, any country that has the funds to do it, I'm working on a nuclear arsenal or something as a deterrent right now. And that's just the sad truth. It's horrible and sad that there are going to be more nuclear weapons in this world rather than fewer. But wouldn't you do that if you were one of them? If you saw what just happened to Ukraine and the U.S., what happened in our election? You can count on us to fight fascism. I know it, you lovely Canadians. You guys were there. You're due for being there on D-Day every bit as much as we were for what you did in World War II and plenty of other times. And you also managed to do things like pass universal health care while we diddled and acted like idiots for years. So trust me, I know who you are, and you're good people. Plus, Quebec City is one of the most beautiful places I've ever seen. Reminds me of France, where I lived for a bit. So, and it's an easier flight. So I'm a big fan. Let's see. Here's more good outlets like Hal Sparks, Ojeda. Yes, he's good. I can't think of his first name. Ojeda Live, Texas Paul channel, found you from Tony. Like what I see. Well, thank you. Thank you for liking what you see. I really appreciate it. Doing my best. I just want to try to share information. If I can educate and entertain at the same time, that's the plan. I mean, it's fun. Like I like talking to people. I told you, and I'm going to do, these will be every Wednesday. We may have to switch up here and there if a guest has to come on Wednesday instead of Thursday. But as of right now, the plan is to do Tuesday and Thursday with guests, and Wednesday will be question, answer, comment, whatever. And then of course I'll do my little rants in the beginning. Goodbye, America. Your empire is crumbling and Europe is turning away from your constant psychodrama. Sad to see you go. Well, a lot of us are sad to see us go too. And the psychodrama is sad too, because it's one lunatic narcissist who has brought a cult in behind him and gained, a following among the dregs of our society. It's really the sad part of the whole thing, is that none of this was necessary. Because actually, as you saw with Kamala Harris and as you saw with President Obama and plenty of other people, a lot of sane people here. Professional Left podcast. Yeah, those guys are good. Amy Goodman in Democracy Now! I mostly like. I think she stuck around too long, giving people that to me seemed patently, obviously, were headed over to the far right, like Glenn Greenwald and others who kept attacking the left from the far left just to swap to the right. Amy Goodman bothered me with that, I'm going to be honest. But I'm not attacking. I think Democracy Now! Has some good content. I just would look and be sure that that's what she's putting on there. How about I put it that way? The Simpsons showed a Trump 2024 gravestone years ago. The Simpsons showed Trump as president in the future episode where Lisa was president. She had taken over, I think, a huge deficit, which is probably about right, from President Trump. You see, and Biff Tannen, the guy that ruins the world in the Back to the Future 2, when they go to that different future, was based on Donald Trump, because everybody saw Donald Trump as this joke and this loser and this climber who always wanted to be in these positions, and people thought it could never happen. And here we are. We're in that Biff Tannen future. I grew up in New York City. Like, the man was a joke. A man bragged to tabloids about cheating on his wife. What kind of human does that? Bad enough you're cheating on your wife, you're bragging about it to tabloids? I mean, anything for fame, anything for attention. He is an empty husk where a soul should be. And he's leaking out of his bottom. That's different. Alan Lichtman was friends with Merrick Garland. No one talks to him. Well, that's interesting. Sometime I'll tell you the story. Well, it's a simple story. I actually did PhD studies at American University in history, and Alan Lichtman was my advisor for a while. So I know Alan. I talked to him in a bit, but I know him from back in those days when I lived in DC on the East Coast. Cubs won the series. We have Cubs in back then they were called the Indians fans fighting in here that I don't know about, or is that a reference to something? Don't know. Don't know why Christians have several times divorced a man as their quote dear leader, because they're frauds. I don't know. Let's not panic. If you were on Tony's show, one of the ones that came over from Tony's show earlier, but I was purposely talking about the fact that I used to do a segment when I first started off on the Young Turks show, and again, my views tend to differ from theirs at this point, but that was a long time ago. We called it Republican Sexcapades, because I would show all of the hypocrisy. These people, they're not real Christians. They're cultists. They're always looking for a cult leader, and Jesus is just another fake cult leader. The Jesus who, took in people, helped clean and bathe and feed the poor, thought were the wealthy, had less chance of getting into heaven than I believe it was a camel through the eye of a needle. The ones who, the parable of the Good Samaritan helping out the immigrant on the road. None of these people know any of that stuff or believe any of that stuff. It's a symbol, like the American flag. Cross, flag, they have symbols, and they impute whatever garbage they want into those symbols. Their version of Jesus holds an assault weapon and talks about tax cuts and hates everybody that looks different than him, even though, of course, you may want to be reminded that he did not come from that region. If he existed as a man, which he may have, I believe he did, just not what they turned him into, but he didn't have blonde hair and blue eyes, because nobody there had blonde hair and blue eyes. Nobody there had my eyes, okay? Not possible. Let's see. Henry VIII created the Church of England, which are Episcopals, because the Catholic Church would not grant a divorce. That is true. Very true. I went to a very liberal Episcopalian school in New York City up through the 8th grade, like really liberal and cool. And they had a very different view of things. They're all about social justice. So, yeah. But your point being that they were begun because somebody wanted to have a divorce, Henry VIII, who, when he didn't get divorced, liked to chop his wife's heads off because he was pretty much the Donald Trump of his day. He couldn't get a wife pregnant, and it turned out it was him, but he blamed her. Sound familiar about thousands of years of men blaming women for things they do wrong? See, I can say that. What other questions do we have? Funny, I know a lot of divorced Catholics. Yes, there are, Cynthia. Again, people really need to get their own house in order, and this is what campaign messages should be, which is, why don't you look out for your own house? Why don't you take care of your own before you judge everybody else? Why don't you use the freedom and liberty we give you to behave like a responsible citizen and care for your children or spouse or brother or sister or parents or friends or whoever? Stay the hell out of other people's lives where you don't belong. But now you got to lecture them about things, and then we find out that you're divorced or you're having an affair or you're secretly gay, which, again, nothing wrong with being gay. There is something wrong with being secretly gay while you're trying to pass laws to make it illegal for everybody else. What other questions we got? What you up to next, Cliff? I'm new here, but going to stay. Well, I appreciate that. I am going to keep, what I'd like to do is take questions and answers. As I said, today is a day. This is funny. Jim, well done. Max Van Sydow, if you remember this, Jim, and I was a baby when this happened, they filmed the movie 3 Days of the Condor in the place where I grew up in New York City. A couple of scenes when Robert Redford's walking out of one of the apartment buildings, and Max wants to try to shoot him. Assassinate him, which is his job. They filmed that part in my area, and so of course Robert Redford apparently was everywhere in our area, but I never met him because I was a baby. I met him years later at a environmental conference because he cares about that kind of stuff and is a good person. Yeah, Robert Redford, great movie, folks. That to me is the best genre of movie. Those 70s. Paranoid, the government's coming after you, and frankly should be popular again these days, you'd think, right? The parallax view and that there were obviously 3 Days of the Condor. What else? All the stuff after, Watergate broke and the Church Committee showed all the stuff the CIA was doing, and so you had this sort of constant these movies about beware of what the government was up to. Serpico, a cop who, of course, is betrayed by institutions. That's when we started questioning institutions. Yeah, spy thrillers. A lot of that happened in that period of time, just because we had a lot of the same kind of crazy as right now. You'd think there'd be more of that. And I think there are some of them. There's certainly, it's a different atmosphere. Streaming. I watch it right now. Lioness is on. If anybody watches that, fantastic. Woman power and all about these kind of spy CIA kind of stuff. And what's cool about it is, they deal with some of our issues of today carefully, but they do. And Zoe Saldana's in it, and Nicole Kidman's in it, and Morgan Freeman. But what's his name is in it? Kirk Acevedo, who is a great liberal. He's on Blue Sky, speaks out a lot. He was in Band of Brothers back in the day. He's been in a lot of stuff. It's kind of cool that he's a guest and in there right now. Lawrence O'Donnell said last night that Matt Gaetz will not be confirmed. No, he's not going to get confirmed. That's why I said my whole theory with him was to just sort of let the Republicans have it and say, I did a video about that, the Animal House theory, where when they're going to kick their fraternity off campus, so they just get up and they walk out because they know they're not going to be giving a fair hearing. They're not going to stay there and listen to this. It was funny because it was Animal House. I would just, if I were the Democrats, just get up and walk out and be like, here's your problem. Have fun. Have fun either pissing off the MAGA base by not voting for him or pissing off everybody else by voting for him. Republicans can't win with that nomination, so I thank Donald Trump for that. What else do we see? What else? What else? What else? Yes, Robert Ludlum books. A lot of that kind of stuff. Keep your data private. Yes. There's delete me apps or programs on Google. I've done one of those big things to get my information taken off. Be careful if you're on Twitter. I am in the process of deleting, saving data, and within a couple of weeks we'll probably be off Twitter, which is why if you're hearing me, you've been kind enough to share a lot of stuff of my socials, Jim Williams, but don't share Twitter anymore because I'm not long for that place. Not even sure I'm long for Threads, to be honest with you. It's really going to be YouTube and Blue Sky are the two spots where I will be YouTube more than anywhere. Contact your representative today to vote no on HR 9495. Is that the one that allows them to go after not liberal nonprofits? I believe it is. And if it is, absolutely go after them or call them and tell them not to vote for that. I like Cynthia's idea. Please like and subscribe. And I'll say again, I don't want no pressure, but we love super chats. We love super stickers. We love people that join our YouTube as members. We love all that stuff because, again, the more of that comes in, the more of this I can do. It's a pretty simple formula. If up to me, I'd love to do a 3-hour one of these every day, but I've got other work I have to do. I can't right now. So it's just a matter of, YouTube ads are starting to make some money. I'm only about 4,400 away from 100,000 subscribers. So if you haven't subscribed to the YouTube, please, we're almost at the magic number. And from what I hear, at 100,000, YouTube takes you more seriously, decides that you're worth their investment, and has a marketing person talk to you and other stuff. Who knows? Love you too, Cliff. Pat, I love you. I love you. No, I do. You guys are awesome. And you're the ones who are here allowing me to do this. So thank you. Thanos, who are you going to Thanos? Can we just Thanos sort of anyone with a MAGA shirt or hat or anything of that? Because I think then we really, we get the real hardcore ones, the worst of them. Like there are others that voted for Trump, but they don't want you to really know. They don't brag about it. They don't wear it on their sleeve, so to speak. If you just could Thanos the ones who have MAGA gear, do you know how much better this country immediately would be? How much healthier, smarter, wealthier, kinder? Crazy. Carl Jacobson. See? Love is a super chat. It is. I may write I write poetry and songs too. Nobody pays me for that. But I did help write a script for a movie at one point. Well, I added a few things. And I write columns and all sorts of stuff, but I like to write songs. And so I may have to turn that. Love is a super chat. Feels like a song. Cliff actually bothers reading the chat just like Hal. No, I told you this is that I actually have a day where this is what I believe in. Right. And I want to say again, Carl Jacobson, thanks so much for that, for the super chat. Wink, wink, folks. I appreciate it. I really do. Yes. I hit off the other one I meant to, but it was basically, I'm sorry, where you said that Cliff, there it is. Cliff reads the chat. I do. I mean, that's, to me, one of the best parts of this. That's why I'm here today. I mean, other days, I like to have a section of about 10 to 15 minutes at the end where we do that at least. But today, it's all about reading the chat, man. No. Don't tell me this is true. My name is Maximus Decitus. Yes. Oh, I can't even do it right now. You got me depressed. We're going on Saturday, man. Or woman. I loved Gladiator. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. History, ancient Rome specifically, which I love. Where's JP Mandel? Yeah, he's gone. JP Mandel is gone. I haven't seen him. He's probably just crying in his little tears in his little MAGA mug and his MAGA socks. And is Die Hard a Christmas movie? Absolutely. One of the happiest of all Christmas movies. And so is Love Actually, which I actually love. I like that movie. I don't care if people attack it. Yes, there are some questionable portrayals of women. It lacks perfection. I get it, but nothing's perfect. But Die Hard actually is pretty close to perfect. It's certainly one of the best action movies of all time. And back to Gladiator. I mean, come on, it had Denzel Washington in it, right? Pedro Pascal. and they brought back some of the other folks, and it's that makes me sad because Gladiator was so good. And based on, again, the main character was loosely based on the general who helped save Rome at one point from its dictatorship and returned it to the senators and left. And he was called Cincinnatus. And I live in a city called Cincinnati because we are named after that general. Congrats, President Putin and VP Musk. Yeah. Donald Trump's their poodle. They both own him. Gremlins is a Christmas movie. I'm with you. Gremlins is fun. Man, it's been a while since I've seen that. Don't let them swim. Eat after midnight. Is there anything else? I don't know. Bark like a dog, or don't let them watch porn, or let Mike Johnson monitor their porn. That would be worse for them. I don't know what this is. Let's see. New comments. Musk will go away soon, holding on too tight to Trump. Well, if Musk were to turn Twitter against Trump, that would not be easy. And Musk has lots of money. He's losing a lot of it from his stupid investments and his stupid right-wing positions. But then again, who knows if Xi or Vlad or Orban or others are making the difference. What else? Okay, yeah, I like that we're doing some interesting stuff here. Okay, oh, the North Koreans plus Pornhub story. That's hilarious. They went and they fought for the Russians against Ukrainians, and they got addicted to porn because they're like, what is this? I've never seen it. I love National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Yes, that is a great Christmas movie, Diane. Capo Bianco. Again, I tell you every time how much I love your Italian name because my wife's family, some of them are Italian, and we spend lots of time, or as much time as we can, doing Italian things. We love Italian food. We love Italian culture. We just went to Italy this past summer to go to take our kids to Sicily for the first time. We'd gone in the past a few times. Martin Sheen for president. I mean, I was at a fundraiser once. It was for the Pennsylvania Democratic Party when I was working in a firm, probably about 15 years ago. And right before I think I started my own thing. And he was the guest. And I have to tell you, Martin Sheen walked in, and that was, only a couple years after it had gone off air, The West Wing, and they played the presidential music, and he really felt like he was president. Like you really thought he was. It was kind of cool. Yeah, I could live with him as president. Hey, he's a good Ohioan too, from Dayton, I believe. Stephen Colbert is good. Yes, agreed. Crystal Water says, I love Jon Stewart. Jon Stewart, I used to love. He's gone back and forth lately. A couple times, very much disappointed me. But he had something very good he just went on about. Where is it? I saved it because I was thinking I might do a video on it. Let me see. Maybe disinformation. Was that it? Oh, no, that Democrats should get tougher and exploit loopholes the way Republicans do, which is what I've been screaming about. What I did my rant about yesterday, I believe. Democrats need to use everything at their disposal to protect us ahead of time. Pre-pardons for people that we think Trump will go after. Every position that's open in government should be filled with somebody, and make it as hard as possible for Trump to remove them. Of course, they're rushing judges through. They should absolutely have done that. Should have done that sooner. We need to build up the immune system. Dems need to learn to fight. I know. But I will say, laugh or cry. I meant to click on your thing. You're so right, Cliff. Thank you. I don't know. I lost that one. It's laugh or cry. Democrats have been learning to fight. The problem is that it hadn't reached enough people yet. The Senate is still run by wimps. I hate to say. House, different. Hakeem Jeffries is a fighter and he's good, and Eric Swalwell is a fighter and he's good. Ted Lieu, Jasmine Crockett, Stacey Plaskett, Dan Goldman, Jared Moskowitz, Jamie Raskin. I'm missing some too. Like there are some really good fighters in the House who don't take any Republican crap and create great viral moments, ripping them apart. We only have a few senators, Brian Schatz and Chris Murphy, maybe. I know I'm probably missing a few. Oh, Tammy Duckworth is pretty good, but we just don't have people. Schumer and Durbin and the entire leadership needs to be gone. They need a makeover like the House did, and we need leaders who are younger. They have to be at least Gen X or below, because the boomers and the ones above are almost genuflect to Republicans, by nature. I know that for those of you who are boomers who are in the chat here, I'm not saying you do, but the ones in Congress, whatever, it's like they still think Reagan's around and Republicans are still the popular party. It drives me crazy. Sheldon Whitehouse is pretty good too. Yes, Brad, that is a great point. We have a few of them. We need more. The problem, it hasn't hit a critical mass yet in the Senate the way it has in the House. Like, I named some of them, but there's a lot of others who've had great moments. Just Jim McGovern, right? Just had one yesterday. I mean, like, it's reached a critical mass because courage is infectious, and you see one person courageous, and that leads other people to be courageous. And I think we have enough people that have stood up and said enough of this crap in the House that has become infectious. And then also you look to your leader, and Hakeem Jeffries is that leader. He doesn't take crap. That is not Chuck Schumer, sadly. Hey, Frank Stolar, my friend, good to see you here. What else we got, friends, compatriots? What else? Jamie Raskin was named there. Yep, I named Jamie. I threw him in there. Again, I did forget some. It is hard to name them all. I'd have to sit here and look through my YouTube videos, because that's literally the thing I dedicated my YouTube channel to, was to do whatever small part I could do to change the culture. So that's how it originally started, was putting up videos of fighting Dems, and I would give commentary for about a minute or two on what, how, or more than that, more like 4 minutes. But point being about what they were doing right as a messaging guy, how much I enjoyed it, how much we need to mock the other side, the ways you can back them in the corner, ways you use their own language against them. I think I've told you all before, I've thought of doing one of these as like a course or something in strategic messaging and debating, which I may do at some point. I just would have to find something called time. Didn't like what Jared Moskowitz said about Matt Gaetz. Yeah, I know that, and other people got upset too. Jared Moskowitz doesn't, and not any one of these people will hit the ball out of the park every time. But Moskowitz just came right back and ripped the crap out of Marjorie Taylor Greene when they were arguing about something today that I loved. He said, he was like, somebody in California, he was like, no, it's not space lasers that are causing the fire, and no, I can't control the weather or whatever. I mean, he's good. He has his bad, everybody has bad moments. None of them are going to be perfect. I love the fire of the youngsters. That's why I wanted to put that up there. Again, I do too. I'm, again, I'm 52, so I'm not a youngster. I guess I am in political terms. If I ran for the House, I probably would be a youngster. But that's why I sort of include Gen X, because Hakeem Jeffries is Gen X, and he is a badass. And a couple of the other folks that I included in there, I'm not sure. Swalwell is, I think, millennial. Frost, another terrific one who kicks butt, and he's Gen Z. So I mean, it started, I would say, anywhere between X and Z is you've got people who, Raskin, he's an Xer. I think he's older than me, actually. I think he's on the top side of Gen X, whereas I'm kind of like in the very middle of it. But there's some really good ones among that bunch too. Run, Cliff, run. Yeah, I thought about it. I really did. There's a while I took it seriously. I've said and done much too much to run. And I don't mean that in some sort of weird, whatever way. I want to say, Ballard Graham, thank you so much. Again, folks, super chats are how I can keep doing this, and memberships. I would run, and when I say I've done and said much too much, is you can find me saying I would never win a Republican vote. You can find me calling all Republicans any manner of names. So it wouldn't just be like, oh, I hate MAGA Republicans, but I'm going to try to win. So it would have to be a very Democratic district. And then maybe I wouldn't even be far enough to the left. I don't know. I mean, I consider myself a liberal, and I'm pretty much on the left on most things. But I also have spoken out, right? And I spoke out when I thought people on the far left, some of the people that surrounded Bernie, I thought were hurting the Democratic Party. Shocker. The ones I insulted, like Jimmy Dore and Bree Joy and Glenn Greenwald, all doing the bidding of the far right at this point, because they always seem like frauds. But then all these people got pissed at me about that. So, I speak out. And there you go. That's exactly what I thought, Bruce, that Jamie is 61. And I think that puts him right in the middle. I think if you're saying that, I think it's 65 to 80. Is that Gen X? Somewhere in there? As I said, I'm right in the middle. I don't give out my exact birth date, although I'm sure it's somewhere online, just because why make it easier for hackers? But yes, I mean, I told him 52. I bet you can do the math and figure out around when I was born. JD Christie, thank you so much for the super sticker. And that's sort of a thing, folks. Even 99 cents helps a lot. Like, it doesn't have to be 10 or 20. 99 cents, $1.99, $1.15, whatever your favorite number is. Anything. I really appreciate it. Good guess. You're off by a year. Kind of. But yeah, you pretty much got it. I mean, I think you meant a 19 in front of that, not how old I actually am. Yeah, X is 65 to 80. And as I said, I'm almost right in the middle of it. So you can figure it out. But I'm not 65 years old. I am 52. Bill Maher starting to suck. Well, he started a while ago, sadly. That's a shame. $1. I don't know what this is. Is this it didn't light up like a super. If it's some kind of a super chat or something, thank you. I appreciate it. 56 Nick Rich. That's awesome. But if I'm wrong, then my apologies. Mikhail Spacco, a man I have known for years. Lawyers Ruby Freeman and Shane Moss are asking the judge to hold Rudy Giuliani in contempt for defaming them again and failing to turn around. That's good. As my friend Mikhail here has been saying, we need more lawyers. I don't understand. Again, I still don't understand. And if any of you are lawyers in there, please tell me. But how is it, if you knowingly share things with people that get them killed, I thought that the standard was you could always get out of, saying, oh, well, I didn't know or whatever. If you're a Fox News personality and you are walking through you have to get a vaccination just to be able to show up to your job, and you do that, and you know the effects of that vaccination because you've gotten it, and then you tell people that vaccinations are killing everybody, aren't you by definition lying to people and trying to get them killed? I don't understand why there hasn't been a massive lawsuit. I don't get it. See, this is really nice. And I hope encourages you folks because, and I hate asking for this, I really do, but Jim is the mod here. He should get paid. He shouldn't be giving me money, and I'm not going to reject it, Jim, but you don't have to do that. I really appreciate it. It's incredibly kind of you. You're already giving your time. I still would like to see Merrick Garland kicked out from the AG seat by Thanksgiving. Not Christmas, I can only drink it. Well, I agree with you. I mean, Sherry Jacobus did a thing on that, and that's what we had her on one of the earlier shows a few weeks ago. If they're willing to kick him out now, who cares, right? Again, in that Jon Stewart clip I was bringing up about loopholes, whatever, we worry about appearances and we don't want to go against tradition and collegiality. Screw that shit. Okay, forget it. Like, go against it. Get up. Somebody in the House. You have the protections we talked about yesterday of the speech and debate clause. Get up and read the Matt Gaetz report. What are they going to get mad at you because you weren't collegial? These people, the ones that tried to let their friends break in and smear feces on the walls and destroy the place. This is the way Democrats need to be acting. Every single thing you can do to make this country safe from fascists before they take over, you do. I don't know why this is something I have to get worked up about. Do it. Put all the judges on there. Put everybody in positions in government. Remove people you can remove if they suck and put better people there. Pass executive orders. Hell, are there any treaties out there? Sign a freaking treaty. You don't need the Senate for that. You don't need the House, as I'm sure you guys know from civics. Anything you can do that you just need the Senate and the president or just the president. Do it. Executive orders. Do it. Anybody in the bureaucracy, health and human services, defense, whatever. If you can do something on your own, do it. Everything to protect individuals and to protect the whole. This should be freaking common sense, right? Why do we even have to say this? Deport Muck. I like that. I don't know if you meant Musk. I hope you meant Muck. I knew you were talking about. And yeah, he worked here illegally, which has now been exposed. Why are we not starting the process, even if we can't get it done in time? He did not have the proper work visa when he was working here and making his PayPal money. So either deport him or confiscate the money he made at PayPal. And hell, by fruit of the poison tree, I know that one even though I'm not a lawyer, take all the money he made by investing PayPal money. We'll never do it. And that's the thing. They would. And this is what gets me. It's like that's the Washington Generals who forever, I can't remember who asked me before if that's what I was when I went on Sinclair. I was not. Our party too often is. And it pisses me off. Thank you, Sheldon. Biden should have fired Garland 3 years ago. Yes. I mean, look, there are people out there, the defenders, and I'm not saying you can lay everything at Merrick Garland's feet, but really you don't have to be an expert in this stuff or know that much. That the fact that it took him, was it a year and a half to first appoint Jack Smith? That we needed that year and a half. The fact that he took that long is a crime in and of itself, beyond everything else. And then what? He prosecuted Hunter Biden. He wasted his time on that, but didn't have enough time for people who we had texts from, like Senator Mike Lee, that scumbag who had written a plan for overturning electoral votes. We didn't have time, and texted with Mark Meadows. We didn't have time for him, but we had enough time for Hunter Biden. Okay. You know, Hunter Biden really threatened the frickin' Republic, didn't he? Mr. WW, you're an idiot. Do we have a bad person in here? Can we make fun of them? I don't know. I don't know who's arguing with anybody, but if there is a troll in here, let's de-trollify. If it's just some people arguing, well, that happens. What else we got? Chipmunk milk. GOP will have a 53-seat majority in the Senate and would be able to rely on Vice President-elect J.D. Vance to break a 50-50 tie. That's if he's not too busy trying to buy donuts, which takes him like 3 hours to just say hello. But I digress. Allowing for a handful of defections. This is correct. Well, we can talk about this in a second, Mr. WW. When it comes to the 53 senators and all that, they can have a handful of defections. But I've heard up to half the caucus doesn't want to vote for Pete Hegseth and Matt Gaetz. You see, a lot of it's about personal relationships too, and that's why I'm sure some of the ones that get along with the other ghouls. But Matt Gaetz can't even get along with other ghouls. So a lot of them personally hate him, and a lot of them are embarrassed by his presence there. And so the fact of the matter is that, well, when you ask who I think defects, I think right away you'll get a couple people. I don't think there's any way that shocked Susan Collins. She won't, unless McConnell tells her to, and I don't think he will. And I don't think Murkowski does. I don't think Tom Tillis does. Some things he said. I think a few others have expressed. Mark Wayne Mullen hates him, and that guy has a name, Mark Wayne. I thought Mark Wayne Mullen would love him, but there are others. There's at least a couple senators who've called for the Gates report to be released, which shows you, I can't remember who the other ones were. It shows they don't like him. There's a lot of people that don't like him and are embarrassed because the stuff he did was quite public. It's okay if you can do it in private. So I don't think I don't think it's going to be defections necessarily along ideological lines. Again, Mitch McConnell still has power because he raises dirty money and gets people elected, and he controls that caucus well. And he put up his person, John Thune, his lieutenant, against who the MAGA people wanted, Rick Scott, and his person won. So it shows you McConnell still has power. And what I'm saying is, if McConnell does not want somebody, he's probably got about 16 to 20 something votes there that he literally can snap his fingers and make a move, which is why he will be remembered as one of the biggest ghouls of this era, because we only needed 10 more votes to convict in the Senate. And Mitch McConnell, just by doing it, would have gotten well over that amount. I think if he had just asked 10 people to do it, they would have done it, and then we would have had like 20 of them. It's not about sympathy for Moscow, Mitch, Jim. Whatever happens to him, whatever Trump does to him, he deserves. He brought this upon himself. He destroyed all comedy in the Senate, all, the rules, the procedures, the norms. He helped he's one of the people, him, the Supreme Court, like certain Tea Party people, Newt Gingrich. He's one of the key figures that helped pave the path. So I don't care what happens to him. He deserves the worst. I'm just making the point that let them fight. And McConnell he doesn't want to just cede control. Remember he said on no recess appointments? McConnell has enough control there that he can stop stuff. And I don't think he wants Matt Gaetz up there because his corporate people don't, makes them all look terrible. I don't think they want Pete Hegseth up there. I don't think they want Tulsi up there, or I could be wrong on that one. And I think Big Pharma, who's given Mitch McConnell gazillions and Ted Cruz gazillions, does not like people like Robert Kennedy Jr., who spend all their time attacking Big Pharma. And it's ironic, right? Because we're going to rely on bad actors to stop worse actors. Again, McConnell to stop certain people, Big Pharma to stop certain people, not for the right reasons, for the wrong reasons, because that's what politics is about. Okay, Mr. WW, you can tell me why you think Merrick Garland's hands were tied, and I will see if I agree with you. But he was Attorney General. You can't tie the Attorney General's arms. I mean, Trump maybe can because they've already sworn allegiance to him, but the Attorney General swears allegiance to the Constitution. So I don't care who told him he could do it or couldn't do it. He had the power to make decisions. Whatever decisions he did not make are on him. I don't care if people are telling him not to do it. I don't care if it's the President of the United States telling him not to, Vice President, whoever. The DOJ is the DOJ. He investigated the president's son. He could have investigated I don't know, treason. He could have investigated January 6th and everything around it sooner. And you're not going to, I mean, unless you have a pretty compelling argument, you were not going to convince me he did not have that power. There's been such erosion and separation of powers. Well, that is definitely true. Again, in that way, McConnell, in that one way, and I will never say anything else good about McConnell, the fact that he's willing to stand up for the Senate's prerogatives is good, because power diffused is better. Power in one place is fascism. And so if McConnell is not willing to just say, oh yeah, you can have your recess appointments because we'll do whatever you want, Mr. Trump. Again, I hate Mitch McConnell with every fiber of my being, with the heat of a billion suns. I hate Mitch McConnell. Hate him. Worked against him a few times. Does not change the fact that if he can stop a lot of what Trump's doing, that is a good thing. We can separate our hatred from him from the fact that if he does some things to help us, again, that's what politics is. You get people that you don't agree with to help you get good things done. The Tories help cover everything up from the right to keep it going. Yes, yes, and yes. Yeah, I mean, Obama went to him to make that announcement about Trump in 2016 and that the Russians were helping him, and he refused to do it. And Trump would have never won had McConnell stood up and done it. And apparently, I think it was Paul Ryan at the House was willing to do it, but once McConnell wouldn't, he wouldn't. So it's all on Mitch McConnell. So McConnell gets all the blame for that. Yeah, and he hates Trump now, but he created Trump. Again, I'm just explaining why at the same time I have zero sympathy for him. I hope his life is miserable because of Trump. I hope Trump insults him publicly, makes him feel stupid and foolish and whatever. But I do hope that he holds that Senate caucus together and the ones that owe him their jobs, and that they're willing to not just pass stuff that Trump wants passed. Yes, that was my point, Jim. They're completely independent, and they were under Joe Biden, and that's why Mr. WW is going to have to find a way to convince me how his hands are tied, because there's no way they should have been able to be tied. But it's different. Remember Trump said, "Where's my Roy Cohn?" He wanted his lawyer. He wanted his person to cause trouble for him, protect him. Yeah, it's a matter of the fact that Trump never believed the Attorney General should be independent. So Attorney General is not independent. Oop, just got a message. Let's see. Let's see what it is, guys. Maybe from one of the viewers. What else we got? Eileen Cannon is one judge. Yes, she's horrible. But so is Trump going to be sentenced in New York? That'll be interesting. I guess we're going to see what happens in New York. But I mean, even if they sentence him, they listen to this stupid, again, loopholes and things we talk about. There's no law. There's nothing in the Constitution that the president can't be convicted of a crime while they're president, sitting president. Other countries do it all the time. Other democracies. It's a stupid memo written by, I guess, was it the Attorney General, or not even under, the Deputy AG under Nixon, and then I guess Clinton's AG or Deputy AG, backed it up and said, I agree with this. But why couldn't our Justice Department say we disagree with this? We could. But again, tradition, norms, as if they haven't thrown all of that out of the window already. Their norms are going to end up ending our democracy if we don't force them. I mean, again, some great fighters among the bunch, but will there be enough quick enough to stop this crap? MM was behind the deregulation of banks that led to the subprime crisis, which shows you are correct. If there was a big corporate entity that was deregulated in any way, Mitch McConnell was probably accepting a lot of their money and was probably behind it. Guns, banks, pharmaceuticals, health insurance companies, and on and on and on. That's right. Oil, gas. So let's see. What else we got? Just looking through. Yeah, that's a lot of zeros in there for Trump's debt. What's next? A lot more. What's next is, if he follows the crypto bros, the Broligarchs plan, they have all invested deeply in crypto. You may have noticed that Donald Trump did that too. There's a method to their madness, and Elon Musk and Peter Thiel and the whole apartheid gang, they like to tear stuff down. They disrupt. They're such cool guys with their cool phrases out there. So they want to disrupt the United States of America, and that would involve destroying us enough, creating hyperinflation through massive export of throwing out of immigrants, so that people will have to be paid much more for those jobs by business, which will lead to them charging us. And then you have huge tariffs, which will have to be paid by business, which will lead to them charging more of us. See where I'm headed with this? Then we will crash. And when we crash, their hope is the dollar becomes so devalued that Bitcoin becomes the reserve currency of the world. They really are James Bond villains, every single damn one of them. They're evil, horrible people. And you hear Elon Musk say things like, well, we'll get there. We have to go through some pain first. Yeah, well, that loser, that incel dick won't have to go through a lot of pain. He's talking about other people who there's a good chance will die. But what's that to Elon Musk? They're just humans. What else? Yeah, we're not stopping Trump from being certified. I do believe, I'm a supporter of them going to all key states, and frankly, every state, and counting at least a couple of votes in each district. You should do that enough to make a pattern and know what's right. I wouldn't care if that's Trump. I think that you should do that every election, every 4 years. Why would you not do that? If Kamala won, I'd say the same thing. They should have done it every single time. So yeah, I'm a fan of that. But I think, at least from what I'm saying, everything is accounted for. I mean, Russia obviously altered things by some of the things they did, and MAGA, folks lied and cheated, and they suppressed a lot of votes. I mean, let's just start with that. Here in my state, the SOB Secretary of State loser came in third in a Senate primary of 3. So even his own party hates him. He changed the language on our anti-gerrymandering proposal so much that he confused enough people about which was the anti-gerrymandering position. So we were unable to pass it. Him and big money. Right. And that's what they do. And then anybody who hadn't voted, like I think 2 elections in a row, boom, he took them off the rolls. All sorts of votes were suppressed. I mean, I think if you think about Texas, Ohio, Florida, these are big states run by Republicans. Georgia, if everybody who went out and planned to vote was able to, my guess is I wouldn't be shocked if the votes they ended up suppressing are in the millions. And that's not just this time, that's every time. I'm pretty sure they would lose by much bigger margins when they almost always lose the popular vote, and would lose the popular vote otherwise, and probably the electoral. Again, that was the Supreme Court's decision. That's why it matters who you vote for and that you vote. That was the earlier right-wing Supreme Court's decision on the Shelby versus Alabama, undoing a lot of the Voting Rights Act. What else we got, guys? Anybody have anything else for me? Trump has a concept cabinet. Yeah, that's about right. He's a concept of a cabinet. A concept of a cabinet and a concept of a defense secretary. And a concept of a wife who I believe at this point spends literally zero time with him except for when she absolutely has to. They probably are in different rooms and do not do much together. I think Elon, Trump, and BlackRock, Wall Street types are actively trying to collapse and devalue the U.S. economy, largely in part with mass deportations and then buy everything pennies on the dollar. Yes, I think that's part of the whole crypto play is also that. They want our assets. Blow them up. Putin did it in Russia. Make everything cheap, and you do buy it for pennies on the dollar. That's BlackRock's whole freaking model, is finding places to buy things for pennies on the dollar, stealing pensions, doing God knows what else. Teal, the gay MAGA South African. I know. Ironic, ain't it? Ichaba dear. Again, why I did that segment, Republican sexcapades. They're all self-haters in some form or another. They all have issues. Mommy issues, daddy issues, their own personal sexual issues, issues with their own masculinity, God knows, but they all have something that makes them so angry and wanting to just blow up the world. What's on Cliff's agenda for the next few hours before he returns in about 3 hours, for Hal returns? Well, my agenda is to talk for a couple more minutes. I think we're getting pretty close to the end. This is from 56 Nick Rich. I'm gonna talk a few more minutes, and then I think my agenda is to do a little bit more work here around the office that I have to do. But is there anything else interesting that happened today that I figured I should share before we call this game? Let's see. Let me look around on the sites and the places. Not sure. Well, I brought this up, earlier, obviously, reminder that Comcast is spinning off MSNBC and CNBC. Liberals, please jump in and buy them. That would be nice. Hey, wouldn't that be cool? Trump nominates Whitaker as NATO ambassador. Matthew Whitaker, former acting attorney general. Staunch Trump loyalist. Oh, shocker. America first, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, okay. So he's an idiot. We got that. Of course, we know that Nancy Mace is a horrible person who once, by the way, was moderate, like Louis Stefanik, but is willing to do anything for any power. So she's now trying to pass this thing for the new transgender member, Sally McBride of the House. She's trying to pass a bathrooms bill in the Capitol, which I think will, will they be able to pass it? I don't know. I don't think they will. Certainly not the Congress right now. I may be shocked, but I guess worse has happened. But she's just doing it to be cruel and mean and stupid and horrible, because that's what these people are. So they got that going on. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. The House Ethics Committee is deliberating on Matt Gaetz. That should be fun. Somebody, Democrat, get up and read that report. Look at that. Even the New York Post is now telling Trump to remove Gaetz and Gabbard from his cabinet choices. But I don't see RFK Jr. in there, or everybody else. Because honestly, are any of these people worthy? We're going to get stuck with a few of them. Rubio, Stefanik, what's their name? Gravel Pit from South Dakota there. Gravel Pit McGee, Hey, Cricket, would you like to go for a walk? I have a treat for you. She's nice. Well, guys, unless you've got something else, I think it may be time to hit the road. Christy Gnome. Yeah, I couldn't think of her name. Garden Gnome. Yeah, somebody had that. Amy O'Connor put the GNOME. Thank you. As long as that's out there, I'll always remember. So look, guys, I hope that I answered a lot of your questions. I hope that I shared a lot of your comments. I thank everyone for the super chats, super stickers, new memberships. I think we got super chats and super stickers, but no new members. Come on, one new member. I have to do the Jerry Maguire thing. Are you going to make me do it? Who's it going to be? Who's it going to be? I'm leaving here. I need one person. Come on, come on. Who's it going to be? Who's it going to be? It's okay, guys. Seriously, thanks for being here. You are awesome. Have a fantastic day. You got Hal later. There must be somebody else streaming in between or doing something of this variety, of the stream-like variety that you can watch. I will hopefully put out some videos that will be of the taped variety, but you can watch a couple, a few couple-minute videos that we'll post, I hope, today. If we can get them, edited, which is what I'm going to work on next. So, Laugh or Cry says, thanks, Cliff. I want to say to you guys, thank you. And M. Simpson, I don't think I've put you up yet today. Thanks, Cliff. Appreciate you. I appreciate all of you. Couldn't do it without you. Wouldn't do it without you. Hey, I got a gifted membership from MJ right in before the bell. Thank you so much, MJ. Now I don't have to do my Jerry Maguire thing anymore and drive you all nuts. But I do want to say, so you are amazing, MJ. Thank you. The rest of you are awesome. Thank you guys for the super chat and the super stickers. Thank you for just being here and talking. And as Jim just said, a chat family. Thank you for being that and being a community, because communities will be important going into the near future, that we stick together. So you guys rock. Have a great day. Watch some other cool stuff. Try to take your mind off of all the craziness for a bit and do whatever you enjoy doing. Get a massage, get some acupuncture, go for a run, watch a TV show. I don't know, whatever you can do, but try to relax, enjoy yourself, stay healthy, stay safe, be cool. And as the sun sets slowly in the west, I bid you a fond farewell.